Just press it, leave it. Press it again. All right, leave it.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii.
What is the point of order, Senator Kisang?
Honorable Speaker, I was at the top earlier. My name disappeared when you called one of the senators. Now it has disappeared again. So, I mean, we cannot sit here through the Honorable Speaker when our names are disappearing from the screen.
Honorable Senators,
Yeah.
no, let's agree on one thing. For me to know that you have intention to contribute, I must have your name in this gadget. Now, according to this gadget, you have no intention of speaking. And that is the only gadget I can use to pick senators to speak. So if your name has disappeared, you start the process again, you'll queue. Proceed, Senator Ofula. Technology.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii. Ningependa kuchangia mada ya siku ya leo kuhusiana na huduma ya kimsingi katika zahanati na hospitali zetu. Mimi naunga mkono yale mapendekezo ambayo yameletwa kwa sababu ugatuzi unaanzia mashinani na katika boma zetu. Na jinsi tumesoma mswada huu unaafiki kwamba katika boma karibu 100 ama watu 1000 kuna mfanyikazi wa serikali wa afya ambaye atahudumu na kufanyia watu kazi. Mhudumu huyu kazi yake ni kuhakikisha kwamba iwapo kuna maradhi yamechipuka katika maeneo hayo, atawasilisha ujumbe huo kwa viongozi wa taasisi husika haraka iwezekanavyo. Vile vile kuna maradhi ya maisha ama hulka za watu ambayo watu kwa muda mwingi hawajayagundua. Lakini wahudumu hao watakapokuwa wanashughulika na pilka zao za kazi na wagundue kwamba watu wengi katika maeneo haya wana maradhi ya aina fulani, ripoti itafikia viongozi na wataweza kuweka kwenye
Order, senators, can the honorable senator be heard in silence, please?
Mheshimiwa Spika, nadhani ni hujuma, lakini nitadhibiti mawimbi ya maseneta wenzangu ambao wanahujumu kazi yangu ya Senate. Nimekuwa nasema kwamba watu hawa wataweza kugundua maradhi haya na kuweka katika vitabu vya hesabu, na iwapo makadirio ya bajeti yatawekwa, rasilimali na fedha zitawekwa kulingana na ripoti na utafiti
What is your point of order, Senator Kinyua?
Bwana Spika, umemsikiza seneta wa kutoka Bungoma akisema maseneta wanahujumu kazi. Bwana Spika, seneta hawezi wakahujumu kazi. Bwana Spika.
Senator Kinyua, tafadhali kaa. Kama unakumbuka wakati Senator Wafula anazungumza, nilipeana onyo la nidhamu kwa senators kwa sababu alikuwa anazungumza. Kwa hivyo Senator Wafula ni mkweli kusema kwamba anahujumiwa wakati anazungumza. Endelea. Na ukiendelea hivyo Senator Kinyua, tafadhali, unajua ni mashaka gani yatakufuata. Endelea Senator.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu leo amekuwa kwamba mwiko katika mahakama ya jogoo na kuku. Mheshimiwa Spika, yale nilikuwa nasema ni kwamba wahudumu hawa afya ni uti wa mgongo wa kudhibiti maradhi na maenezi ya maradhi katika maeneo yetu ya vijiji na miji ya humu Kenya. Cha muhimu vile vile nimeona yameorodheshwa jinsi watakavyopewa kazi.
To use the avenue of regulations to stick things that are unconstitutional and go contra to our powers under Article 94. So I support the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member for Mathare. Honorable members, I would like to acknowledge, seated in the public gallery this morning, Enka City Primary School from Kajiado East, Kajiado County. Help me to welcome them to the house. Joy Nairobi School, Kikuyu, constituency, Kiambu County. You are welcome to the National Assembly to observe proceedings in the house. Honorable members, I would also like to welcome students seated in the Speaker's Gallery this morning, Kabiro Secondary School, Dagoretti North, Nairobi County. You are welcome to the National Assembly. Honorable members, I would also like to communicate that order number 16, a motion on expansion of drug and substance abuse rehabilitation centers, order number 16, by the Honorable John Makali, Member of Parliament. He requested that it be dropped, and this was ascended to by the Speaker, so it is therefore dropped. Honorable members, going back to the debate, we have the Honorable Mogambi Rindikiri. Member for Buri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I join the rest of the members in arguing that we annul these regulations in totality. Madam Speaker, let me thank the committee in charge because of putting a hawk eye on irregularities and illegalities in the decision-making, particularly when the law is involved. Madam Speaker, it's very disturbing in as much as we would like to defend the position of our cabinet secretaries and the government. I think there are some obvious things that we cannot do as a house. Mr. Speaker, we cannot have a situation where one arm of the government is not respecting the other arm of the government in making decisions. Madam Speaker, the Kenya National Qualifications Authority is an established institution under the law. And therefore, when the ministry ignores their input when making regulations, it leaves a lot to be desired. Madam Speaker, this authority has the capacity to advise and consult when it comes to regulations on how best to run the universities. Therefore, Madam Speaker, with that, this is very important that the Cabinet Secretary reverts back to his desk and start making proper decisions. Madam Speaker, any action which has element of cost to the community need to be taken very seriously. We have students, parents, guardians, and when we make a regulation that imposes cost to these people, it is very bad and it should not be allowed to happen. Madam Speaker, this animal called public participation, it is in the Constitution. I wonder what is special preference the ministry have that they cannot conduct public participation when making regulations. That's a very important element in the process of making the law and also coming up with the regulations. Madam Speaker, the Cabinet and Secretary of Education and his technocrats within the ministry have totally failed to conduct a public participation, and therefore this regulation cannot be passed. Madam Speaker, it is the time that now we take the issues of Parliament in as far as decisions of making is concerned.
Honorable Rindikiri, what is out of order, Honorable Wanjiku Muya, member for Kipipiri? Please pass the mic to the member for Kipipiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm studying in pursuant to studying order number 95. Looking at the debate, everyone is in agreement that a matter like this without public participation is null and void, and continuing to debate will be repeating ourselves, and as such, I'm requesting if you can ask the mover to reply.
Can I proceed, Madam Speaker?
I'll give a chance to the member for Mburi to finalize. Then I'll find out whether it is the mood of the House that we.
Madam Speaker, the future of education in this country.
Order members, the member for Buri shall be heard in silence.
Yes, Madam Speaker,
Please.
thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the future of education in this country depends solely on the decisions that we shall make as a country, and specifically those in charge of education. Madam Speaker, the education sector right now as it is in a lot of problems. Madam Speaker, we have had commissions formed. We have seen the president forming task forces, and once these task forces give the information, it is never taken into consideration. I therefore, Madam Speaker, argue that these regulations are dropped in totality. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I still have 10 requests, and I would like to find out whether it is the mood of the House that we make use of Standing Order number 95. Honorable members, I would like to put the question to find out whether it is the mood of the House that the mover be called to reply. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. So then, honorable members, I call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank all the members who have contributed and those who intended to do so, because they were all supporting this motion. And so I'd like to thank them very much. And I'd like to assure the House that when we bring a regulation for annulment, we have approved another 13 or 15. And we report to the House every 3 months of all the regulations that the committee has approved. And we normally table here. So we recommend annulment of regulations on extreme cases where the regulating making authority refuses or rejects our proposal to revoke the regulations and amend them. For instance, even in this one, Madam Speaker, you know I am not very pro-annulment. I am always recommending to them, please, this one here, please kindly do so. But when they refuse, like they did in this one, seeking to justify why public participation was not held, why regulatory impact assessment was not conducted, we said, no, we will not agree, Madam Speaker, because this is something that is affecting the people. It is in contravention of the Constitution, Article 118, Article 10, Article 259, and Article 47. And so with those remarks, Madam Speaker, I move. I thank you.
You beg to reply? Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Universities Regulations 2023, laid on the paper of the House on Thursday, the 14th September 2023, and pass on to the provisions of and pass on to the provisions of Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 and Standing Order 210-4B, announce in its entirety the Universities Regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 56 of 2023. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 15, motion. Consideration of the report on the proposed reduction of projected ceilings for Kenya Rural Roads Authority for the financial year 2024 2025 and 2025-2026.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure. The Honorable Member for Ndia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopt the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its consideration of the proposed reduction of projected ceilings for Kenya Rural Roads Authority, popularly known as KERA, for the financial year 24-25 and 25-26, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, that is yesterday, 26th September 2023. Honorable Speaker, just to give a background on this matter, on Tuesday, 22nd August 2023, the committee noted and deliberated on the contents of a communication from the Kenya Rural Roads Authority head office to regional directors regarding reduction of projected funding ceilings to the constituency roads for 22% and 15%, and to the critical roads from 10% to 6.8% in the financial year 24-25 and 25-26. Honorable Speaker, the committee resolved to invite the Director General of KERA and the DG for KRB to a meeting to deliberate on the matter. Honorable Speaker, in the afternoon sitting of the same day, that is Tuesday, 22nd August 2023, while rising on a point of order, the member for Nyando, Honorable Jared Okero, MP, raised the matter in the House and sought the direction of the Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Speaker, you directed that the leader of the majority follows up on the matter and responds before the House. And the leader of the majority issued a statement to the House in the afternoon sitting of Thursday, 24th August 2023. In his statement, he read a submission by the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, which indicated that the lower ceiling issued to KERA was made at a caution to safeguard the authority from early procurement of works and the resulting pending bills that may arise if the county governments are funded. The leader of the majority party also informed the House that the matter was now before the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, and the committee would consider the matter further and report back to the House. Honorable Speaker, the committee, via a letter dated 28 August 2023, invited the DG KERA and the DG KRB to a meeting on 6 September 2023. However, the Director General KRB, via letter dated 1st September 2023, requested that the meeting be rescheduled to a later date. The DG gave a written submission, and the Director, that's the KRB, and the Director General for KERA also, via letter dated 5th September 2023, requested that the meeting be rescheduled before concurring with submissions from KRB, but concurring with the submissions from KRB. The committee, having considered the submissions, received the ninth national and county government coordination summit held in February 2023 in Naivasha, resolved that the road maintenance levy fund, popularly known as RMLF, allocation to the counties would be given consideration in the financial year 24-25 through a restructured process. Implementation of the resolution would entail amendments of the KRB Act 1999, which has not been done. Article 95 of the Constitution gives the National Assembly the mandate to enact legislation and determine the allocation of national revenue between levels of government. Honorable Speaker, according to the submission by the Kenya Roads Board and the statement by the leader of a majority party tabled in the House on 24th August 2023, the legal notice number 2 of 2016 classified the county road network in a national trunk roads, that is class S, A, B, and C, and county roads class D, E, F, and G. In this classification, Kera was given the responsibility of class C roads. And as such, counties became beneficiaries from the fund effective 2015-16 financial year based on County Allocation of Revenue Act 2015 and instructions from the National Treasury issued on 28 August 2015. In this regard, KRB allocated 15% of funds to the counties as conditional grant for 6 years up to 2021 financial year. However, effective financial year 2021-2022 maintenance of county roads was incorporated into the equitable share, and hence KRB stopped the conditional grants from the RMLF to the counties and reverted to the original formula as provided for in Section 6 of the KRB Act 1999. That is, Kera gets an allocation of 32%, which we call 22 and 10%, and Kura gets 15%, Kenha gets 40%, KWS gets 1%, and there's an allocation we call emergency interventions to CS allocation of 10%, and KRB gets an administration allocation of 2%. Honorable Speaker, having considered the submissions by the KRB and the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, the committee observed that the communication by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority on the lower ceiling was only cautionary to prevent the resulting pending bills that may arise in the event that the county governments are funded from Road Maintenance Levy Fund in the financial year 2024-2025 and 25-26. The allocation for the financial year 2023-2024 have not and will not be affected by the communication. However, the committee notes that the communication by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority on the lower ceiling is inconsistent with the Section 6 of the KRB Act 1999, which provides for how the Kenya Roads Board will allocate funds. Honorable Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act 1999 provides that the board shall allocate funds from the Roads Maintenance Levy Fund as follows. And I think I gave the percentages. I don't have to go back there. The committee also recommends that the Director General for the Kenya Rural Roads Authority should withdraw the memo to regional managers and report back to the House within 7 days of the adoption of this report. Further, public officers should, and also, Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that public officers should refrain from issuing communications or circulars that have legal implications before the approval of Parliament. I think we agreed yesterday that it is only Parliament that has the mandate to change laws or make laws. And additionally, the committee also recommends that the Kenya Roads Board expedites release of funds, these are a bit different, release of funds for financial year 2023-2024 to the road agencies. Honorable Speaker, having stated the above, I wish to request the Vice Chair of the Committee on Transport and Communication to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, please move the motion before you call the seconder.
I beg to move and ask the Vice Chair to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The committee is very clear that the communication to lower the ceiling was inconsistent with the law, and the committee has recommended that the said memo should be withdrawn immediately, and after withdrawal, they should report back to this House. Madam Speaker, it is very important, even as I second, for the House to know that any government agency that will purport to usurp the powers of this House in making laws, in making regulations, that is basically impunity, and this House must say no. We are, as a House, we should not allow agencies and civil servants to waste our time debating issues which are not in line with the law, and that they should stick to what the law says, because the people that made somewhere in Naivasha are not legally recognized by any laws in this country, and therefore their recommendations cannot just be copy-pasted to mean that that's the true position. Madam Speaker, without belaboring too much, I second.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its consideration of the proposed reduction of projected ceilings for Kenya Rural Roads Authority for the financial year 2024-2025 and 2025-2026, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 26 September 2023. Honorable members, on my left, I'll give the first opportunity to the Honorable Otiende Amolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, these are regulations are for annulment, not even withdrawal, as the Vice Chair has spoken about. It is for immediate annulment, so they are of no legal effect once we are done. Madam Speaker, the reasons are simple. First, this constitutes an encroachment and overreach by this summit called the National and County Government Coordinating Summit. You cannot purport to make decisions that affect even constituencies and members of parliament, and they are not represented at that forum. Whatever forum that was for in Naivasha, they should have done whatever took them there, but not to touch on our jurisdiction. Madam Speaker, secondly, Section 6, as captured by the chair, is very clear. You cannot make regulations that contradict a substantive provision of the Act. That is a preserve of Parliament. And to purport to do so is actually in contempt of Parliament. Madam Speaker, the rationale cannot be deciphered. You cannot purport to reduce these provisions in order to make some provisions for the counties. County governments already are given money to make county roads. And most times they don't even do it. The citizens keep coming to us asking us about the very many roads. In fact, if any case was to be made, Madam Speaker, it would be for a case of increasing this allocation, not decreasing it. Let county government use the funds they have for the county roads that they ought to make. In most occasions, county roads are affected because most counties then subject that to the discretion of the MCAs. And most MCAs then make prioritize other things other than road. That is not the mistake of the members of parliament. That is not the mistake of KERA in this funding. Madam Speaker, I want to submit that this funding under this scheme, just like CDF, is one of the only very few verifiably important funds that help the citizens. Without CDF and without these funds, the citizens would suffer immensely. I want to submit, Madam Speaker, in closing, that to the extent that these regulations are made in contradiction of the Act, they are made without consultation of those affected, they are made without rationale, they are for total rejection, with a caution that they must not try to do something like this again. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. The Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to the adoption of this report. Madam Speaker, right from the outset, it is okay for the counties to meet and talk. It is okay for them to make proposals. It is okay for them to come up with restructured processes of getting their own money. But it is not okay at all to encroach on boundaries that they should not. The money that we get through KERA, or as an apportionment of the resources as per this report, have been used very, very effectively. In fact, this is about the second most successful project that we have in this country. Besides the CDF, I think the Kenya Rural Roads Authority projects which we implement under the regional offices have been extremely successful. So first and foremost, we agree they can sit down and discuss their own issues, but they should not encroach on boundaries that they shouldn't. The second issue, as the honorable member stated, the Otienda Molo, we cannot have regulations purporting to change laws. It's supposed to be the other way around. I think laws regulations implement laws. So the regulations should be making it easier for the law to deliver, not to have regulations coming in to change laws. On the other hand, Honourable Speaker, the communication seems to state that there is a likely impact on the 2024-2025 allocation, the allocation for 2024-2025. In that case, we completely refuse this direction. We completely refuse any action in that particular direction. We would like this particular provision withdrawn, and we do not want any impact in that particular direction. Honourable Speaker, when it comes to rural roads and the way the provision has been, the success stories that we get, we would like to propose that even in the other sectors which have not been performing as much, and I have in mind the water sector, I have in mind the electrification sector, which do not have specific allocations, they should actually go this direction. We should have some money for water supply to our people so that we can be able to use equitability to supply water to our people. An allocation that is apportioned, which is reliably, and verifiably available every year so that we can plan for them. Even on the part of electricity, if you look at some of the areas in this country, some of them are below 40% in terms of the household coverage with electricity, while Kenya is at 75%. The question is, who is at 75%? It means if the average is 75% on average, then some people are already at 100%, others are 90%, 80%, but some others are 20%. And you wonder whether we are still living in the same country. And why has this happened? Because of this discriminatory way of apportioning resources. We would like some equitability. And the only way we can ascertain equitability is ensuring that people are given some resources that they can determine how they are going to be utilized. And the only way we can determine is having these resources regularly channeled to us, and we can be able to decide where they should go. So, Honourable Speaker, I fully support the annulment of that particular provision and that particular regulation, and also the return to the normalcy, a total withdrawal of the communication done by the Director General of KERA on this particular communication. We, as a House, we do not accept such side shows. We would like the Director General Kera to also acquaint themselves with the laws that are in this country that basically guide on how resources should be utilized and guide on the processes and functions of the different institutions, especially in its docket or within the ministry. And as such, Honourable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Tom Kajwang, member for Ruaraka.
Madam Speaker, there are too many competing interests, so many people trying to compete with us in the space of lawmaking. You start with the president. He wants to make laws through reservations and vetoing. You go to ministers, they want to claim the space of making laws through delegated legislation. There is one constitution which has said clearly that Parliament, under Article 95 and under Article 96, that Parliament has the sole making authority of legislation in this House. And so we have to speak on the rooftops. In every political pulpit that we get, we must preach this message, that they must know that the function of National Assembly and Senate is to make laws and nobody else. If you look at this issue that we are talking about, it came by way of a memo, a circular. I want to call out on the Director General of Kera. That is the person who actually penned this thing. He knows the law. He knows that he can't make regulations out there. And he knows that a memo or a circular itself, if it has the force of law, is a law-making instrument. And that is why when we were debating earlier here on delegated legislation, even a guideline must not be issued out there if it has a force of law without coming into this House. So if you want to make law, for heaven's sake, change the law. Just amend the law and we will be peaceful. Everybody will be happy. Now, look at this report. There is this people called 9th National County Government Coordinating Summit. This is a body unknown to law. Which law incorporates this body calling itself 9th National County Government Coordinating? You know? Then I have a problem with these people called Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. If you read the report, it is these people actually who told the minister to amend the law. You know, the thinking, even looking at the thinking, is that the minister can change the law. The minister can't change the law, of course. It is us who must change the law. So this kind of, you know, people who want to feel big when they are themselves small, should be resisted at all costs. But let me go back to the carer who actually wrote this thing. He must know wherever he is that we can even remove him from office for violating the law. This circular is in violation of the law. We can have a motion before this House to remove him and deal with him because he is violating the law. He couldn't have accepted to write this regulation. Now, Madam Speaker, I look at the recommendations, and I agree entirely with the Honorable Otiende Molo that this is not something even which should be withdrawn. These things should be obliterated. This thing should just, it is null and void. There is nothing to withdraw in a null and void piece of guideline. But there it is, the committee has proposed it, and it is not harmful. I think I want to support. But I also want to say that public officers, that is in 3, public officers should refrain from issuing communications. I think they just have to keep to the law. If next time we find something like this, then I urge honorable members that we should not go this direction. Should just bring a bill here to impeach that, that officer from not following the law and trying to make the law through the back door. Then the last recommendation, which I think members of this House must agree to, that instead of talking about all these things, let them release funds for the year 2013, 2013 and 2014. This is what they should do, instead of making a lot of politics from nothing. I therefore support that we take this direction and censor very seriously the person that wrote this thing and the people who are conniving behind him. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Ruaraka. Honorable members, I realize that on this screen we have honorable members who may not be in the House. I would like to find out whether the Honorable Julius Ole Sonkuli is in the House. He is not in the House. So in that case, I'm going to call upon the Honorable KJ John Waweru.
Madam
Member
Speaker,
for Dagoretti South.
Madam Speaker, I thank you profoundly. Madam Speaker, what we are doing here this morning is to actually remedy a mischief. We ought to ask ourselves, what mischief is this that we seek to remedy? When this matter was brought to the floor by the Honorable Member for Nyando, we realized that a number of things are happening. The first thing is, of course, that the executive is trying to legislate. But even more tragically, Madam Speaker, is the attempt by governors to try and reform the law to benefit counties out of a coffer that is actually a national government coffer. Madam Speaker, it is well understood that there are roads that are placed under the jurisdiction of the national government. There are those that are placed under the jurisdiction of county governments. Now, what is happening is that the county governments, which we had envisioned to be centers of economic development, are failing in the raising of their own revenues to a point that they are not able to attend to the needs in their counties and now want to dip their hand in the coffers of the national government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the minister in question, a good friend of mine, is a great champion for devolution. And the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen would tell us, when he would teach us about devolution, that we are seeking to have devolution so that counties are able to generate revenue on their own to be able to take up development from the counties. But Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, in the last 10 years, what we have seen is that counties have become overly dependent on the division of revenue monies that is allocated by this parliament, to the extent that the whole devolution conversation has been turned to how we share the cake, not how we bake the cake. And that is the mischief that we are trying to heal this morning, Madam Speaker, because that is the mischief that informed the move towards reducing these monies, the carer monies, on the vote of the national government, so that they can be redirected to the county government. Madam Speaker, if not for any other reason, those two reasons allow us to support the report that has been tabled here by the Roads Committee. Madam Speaker, if it was fairness, the natural thing that would be happening is that these monies should either be constant or increasing. It is even against the rights, Madam Speaker, of the people of Kenya to be reducing a vote of these monies that we know are very well superintended under carer. So, Madam Speaker, beyond agreeing with this report, we are asking the Committee of Transport to take a further action. And the further action ought to be taken to inform carer, to make sure that they withdraw the letters that they have written to the regions, to withdraw those, correct the mischief, and in fact, going forward, Madam Speaker, it should only be actioned by Parliament through the Substantive Committee of Transport. Madam Speaker, the very good minister has been a legislator, and the minister understands that we are the house that has the power to make legislation. If we want devolution to work, we should be strengthening the revenue-raising ability of counties, not making counties totally dependent on national government. So it is our ask to the cabinet minister to also, instead of joining the bandwagon of dividing the national cake, to help these counties to also bring in the ingredients that will help bake the national revenue. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the report, and I say a big thank you to the Committee on Roads under the leadership of the Honorable G.K. Kariuki. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kiaria. Honorable members, before I give an opportunity to our senior Honorable Kainan, I would like to welcome, seated in the public gallery this morning, the following schools. All Kejuado High School, Kejuado Central, Kajiado County. 2, Light International School, Langata Constituency, Nairobi County. 3, Nairobi University students from Starehe Constituency, Nairobi County. You are all welcome to observe proceedings in the National Assembly. Honorable members, the next opportunity now goes to the member for Eldas, the Honorable Adan Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this House is under threat. Madam Speaker, some of us have been in this House for quite some time, since the 8th Parliament, and some of the key institutions that have benefited members of Parliament and their constituencies are institutions like CDF, KERA. I do not want to delve in the politics of the formation of KERA, KURA, KENA, and the KRB. But I'll tell you, as members of Parliament, we have reached a stage where today any busybody attempts to take away the constitutional mandate of members of Parliament, and this trend has started from the 11th Parliament, the 12th Parliament, and here we are, the 13th Parliament. A mere entity goes, instead of discussing this thing during the pre-budget debate, and I'm glad that the chairman is here, these issues are now being made a debate after the budget has already been passed. That itself tells you that there is mischief. If you look at even the framers of our Constitution, Madam Speaker, Article 1, sovereignty has been equated to representation. And here is an entity. They do not want to know the existence of the Statutory Act. They do not want to know the 4 key constitutional mandates of the Member of Parliament. They just sit in an office, negate what has already been given. I'll tell you where I come from and where Honorable Corre and Honorable Senate come from. The only roads that we have seen since independence are KERA roads. The only roads that we have seen are KERA roads. And here is an entity now just decides out of the blue to withdraw what we got. In fact, in the 11th Parliament, Madam Speaker, there was an attempt to merge KERA with KENA. Those who are in Parliament will tell you this. We refused. We refused and say no KERA, no representation. And there was a justification. The justification was there are roads that these other agencies, for those of you, Madam Speaker, before 6 years ago, if you ask a child from my village what a tarmac road is, the definition was a black substance found in down Kenya. That definition has to be negated, while I'm still the representative of those people. And this is not the attitude. I want to tell you, you members of Parliament, and all of us here, slowly we have lost our mandate, our grip on national issues. When a non-constitutional entity in the name of an amorphous group that brings together governors and other groups decides to sit under a tent and say, withdraw the mandate, the constitutional mandate of members of Parliament. And here we are. Even this report is made by the chairman and members of the Transport Committee. This report should have sanctioned an individual, should have dealt so that it serves as a lesson to others who will be actually intruders. We're asking for the withdrawal, so what? You're asking them to relieve funds, so what? These are issues that ought to have been done. But I think in future, Madam, there's an attempt, and this is one thing that we must resist. Once upon a time when we were elected, even the staffer here was a police officer. Your clerk was a CID officer. Your clerk, the deputy clerk, was a special DO. We fought over the years to give Parliament its true independence. Don't allow it during your time. For those of you who are serving under the committee, this very important committee, the transport, and I'm glad that my friend Sene is here and he comes from that particular area, the Honorable GK, don't allow this negation. It doesn't matter the consequence. And that is what it means to be truly the representative of the people of Kenya. Attempts will be made. If you ask Biden right now today, just last week, they had a challenge. There was a stalemate. No elected government is ever happy with a functioning, truly democratic parliament. So I want to urge you, as you do this, Madam Speaker, these recommendations are a bit mild. Sorry to say this. What we expect, Chairman, July, August, September, October, the first quarter is already gone. The first quarter of the financial year is already gone. And we're already dealing with pre-budget issues. What are you telling us, Chairman? Bring this book to these individuals to book. Let our allocations increase. The issue of governors, they have enough. You have given them enough allocations. Let them deal with whether they have. In future, no entity in the name of what should be allowed to make decisions on behalf of members of parliament without representation. If it is an issue of road, the chairman and his team should be called to represent members of parliament in that particular entity. Otherwise, that group seated somewhere making decisions on behalf of parliament, Mr. Speaker, will be an affront to our existence. I want to conclude by saying this. Each one of us is here for a purpose. That purpose must not be lost simply because somebody is not happy with their existence here.
Please give him a minute to wind up. 1 minute.
So thank you. Chairman, the bit we are trying to say is...
Honorable Kainan.
Thank you. The executive is not...
for 25 years.
The executive is not represented here. You are our embodiment. Chairman and your team, stop being mild. Stop being mild. That committee, our representative on GAF, CDF, and this committee must truly represent the interests of members of parliament and their electorate at all times, regardless of political pressure. So, Chairman, after 7 days, what? That communication, that bureaucratic approach, first quarter will be over. Not first quarter, actually. The first 6 months will be over. So what will members do now? Chairman, we really want you to do this. This report is mild. I want to urge my friend Otieno Omolo. I think if time allowed, we will have brought an amendment to name some of the individuals, to bring timelines, and say within the first quarter should reach their constituencies. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kainan. Honorable members, bear with me. I can see a lot of interest in this motion. I know that you have 5 minutes to debate. If you decide to speak for less than 5 minutes, then more of you are going to speak. I was looking for the Honorable Gekaria on my right, but I can see that he's seated somewhere on the left. You may proceed, Honorable Gekaria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, member for Wajir North. Honorable Gekaria came to this house much earlier than you, so he will be allowed to speak.
He's still a young man, so forgive him. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to thank, last week when we were in some seminar in some place, Honorable T.J. Kajwang, he schooled me on what the lower courts, the jurisdiction of the lower courts, the High Court, Court of Appeal, as we go up. And we want to thank you, Honorable T.J. You have stated the facts of law. May I want to state the facts, the issues on facts on the ground as they are. Honorable Speaker, first of all is in the 11th Parliament, and Honorable T.J. Kajwang has indicated, we tried to bring some of these roads to be classified through the normal process of legislation. But Honorable Speaker, it is called the COG, they went to court to stop that process of us legislating to make those roads, because, Honorable Speaker, there is no way roads which were maybe not being used in the 60s, 70s. Currently now there are some roads which needs to be brought to the bitumen level or to be upgraded so that, because they have become very important roads. But the COG went to court and they tried to stop that, Honorable Speaker, and that has been now the reason of the current very bad, poor state of our roads. In that, Honorable Speaker, August 2015, as indicated in the report, the county governments were given a conditional grant of 15%. But, Honorable Speaker, as a few of my colleagues have indicated, if you go and see the reality on the ground, Honorable Speaker, you'll be shocked. And I know because you're a member of a single constituency, you know what they do at your county. I hope they are not different from what happens in our counties. Honorable Speaker, the status of our roads are very bad. Because when the county undertake to to do those works through the monies that they've been given through the Kenya Roads Board. Honorable Speaker, in my constituency, for example, and in a ward where I come from, there are engineers, the civil engineers, they indicate if you are dumping, say, 20 tons of maram, up to what meters should you space? But Honorable Speaker, you'll be surprised. A truck of 20 tons goes around 50 meters. And then it is spread. What happens to that road, Honorable Speaker? Within a week, it has gone back to its status. And monies have gone equivalent to what now Kera is doing currently. And that is the horrible status of, and I want to agree with Honorable KJ. Counties, because of the revenue allocations through the formula that we have passed here in Parliament, they have become dependent, overly dependent on what is sent. So what they are supposed to collect, they have given, either they collect and they put it in their pocket, and they don't care whether they collect or not, as long as now some monies on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis will be sent down to the counties for them to. So they've become dependent on monies that they don't even care to find, thanks to devolution, all the time that they have to be given. Honorable Chair, I happen to be a mayor sometimes back in 2010. And we were only, Latif was the only money, around some 50 million. And it was making a huge difference. Now they are getting into, the worst part, Honorable, yesterday, I had to give 10,000. For a boy who was an MCA, given trucks, what has happened to the counties? They've bought trucks, they have bought graders. When you give this money from KRB, it goes towards repairing of the same graders and trucks which never go to the ground to be able to address the maintenance of these barabaras. And that is the worst status. In my county, they have bought things that it is just repairs, and there is no repair. A repair of some battery costs around 100,000 and things like that. Yesterday I had to give 10,000 for an MCA given a truck, but there's no fuel. So he had to get that money to get fuel, get some sand from some place, dump, and put some little money into the grader. That is the situation on the ground. And I totally agree with the committee. Please, don't allow these things to happen. Otherwise, our roads are going to be no more roads, but just something else. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Ibrahim Sanei, member for Wajir North. Now it's your opportunity.
Thank you, Madam. I'm dissuaded from discussing county government, but rather perplexed with the disdain in which statutory organs have for the rule of law. And that comes to KRB and other entities. Madam Speaker, as my chairman has put it, the lower ceiling isn't really a cautionary, it is an abuse of the existing law. There's a hierarchy of laws in Kenya. The Constitution, statutes passed by this parliament, subsidiary laws, thereafter presidents and other things follow. There can't be any other laws. Regulations are so inferior to statutes. And I can't see how a subsidiary by a non-entity, an amorphous body in Naivasha, can overturn a statutory statement in our laws. Madam Speaker, the kernel of this debate, or my argument, is that corruption has gone to a level where impunity of the law is at the center of it. We can't allow this to happen. As a committee, the minister is duty-bound, being a lawyer, to make sure that there is fidelity for law. This is not a bargain, neither negotiable. And the biggest monster in the road sector is Kenya Roads Board, an entity whose income is not identifiable to the extent we can't really know how much they make. They throw money center, left, and right. They distribute resources. This House is not seized of that matter. We don't know their budget and how they distribute to each constituency in this country. They are multi-billion entity, so rich, yet it is taxpayers' money. The so-called road maintenance levy fund must be dealt with once and for all. If it is not dealt with, then Kenya Kwanza government will never deal with corruption. If RMLF will not be brought to the floor of this House and legislated upon. With those few contributions, I support the Chair's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Nelson Wamboka.
First of all, Honorable Speaker, I must say I'm very disappointed. You keep asking why you don't have quorum in this house.
Honorable Wamboka,
No,
you are out of order.
Just allow me to
You are out
express
of
my
order.
disappointment.
I will encourage you to go direct to the debate.
But you know you cannot gag me, Honorable Speaker. I must
You are out of order,
express my
Honorable
disappointments. We cannot be coming here very early, and people come very late, and you allow them to
You are
speak
out of
before
order,
us.
Honorable Wamboka.
But at
Please
least you've
proceed
heard.
with the debate.
I want to support.
And please take note that earlier I had wanted to give you an opportunity and you are out of the house. You are in the list of those who are out of the house. So I give you an opportunity, and with a lot of respect, please just proceed with
Honorable
the debate.
Speaker, I want to support this motion. I want to support the report by the able chair, Gigi. Indeed, I want to pick it up from where our senior, Kainan, left it. Mr. Chairman, make it very difficult for someone next time to try and joke with this house. Please don't stop there. You know, a kangaroo gathering somewhere cannot sit to usurp powers of this house, and on that strength, a DG makes far-reaching recommendations that are going to affect our operations as members of this parliament. Honorable Speaker, in our constituencies, Kera performs better than county money in terms of roads. Many a times we've been forced to do county roads. I'm doing about 5 of them this time under special funds, Honorable Speaker, from Kera. We do not see where the money for counties go. In fact, Mr. Chairman, look at ways of how we are going to increase this fund, because it is the only working fund on the ground, Honorable Speaker. And it is shame that governors are unable to manage that which they have, and they feel they can come and grab that which we are trying to manage, Honorable Speaker. Kera money is the only money that works on the ground. If you ask the people, in fact, a lot of these county roads, governors are hiding behind us, because we are the people who are asked in meetings. When you stand anywhere in a function, when a road is bad, people even don't go for the governor. They come for the member of parliament, Honorable Speaker. Let's legislate effectively to ensure that we have a way of this fund increasing periodically, after a year, after 2 years. Let's let the money keep increasing, so that not only can we be handling earth roads, but we are able to even handle the tarmac roads, Honorable Speaker. It is absurd, totally, you know, unimaginable how this DG is still existing in his office. Honorable Chairman, crack that man. In fact, we want that DG to come in your committee, summon him here, so that he should answer questions, na ili iwe funzo kwa wale madiji wengi wakora ambao wanafikiri watatumiwa na executive kuendelea kudunisha jumba hili.
Honorable Wamboka,
yes,
please use parliamentary language. Wakora is unparliamentary.
Honorable Speaker,
and also you are mixing languages.
I'm guided, well guided.
I know that you have waited for a long time.
Yes.
Just compose yourself and finalize your debate.
Well guided, Honorable Speaker. Well,
first
well
of all,
please add me a minute.
Withdraw Wakora.
Okay, withdraw the Wakora. But Honorable Speaker, we want to serve a bitter lesson to anybody who would imagine that they can use the executive to try and micromanage this House, Honorable Speaker. I support, and I support this report. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nelson Wamboka. Honorable members, I am going to give an opportunity to the female legislators. I am giving an opportunity to the Honorable Wanjiko Mohia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And just for the information of the House, I had stepped outside because there are some unusual things at the gate of Parliament where deaf community is gathering there, claiming to see all of you, but I have attempted to see them on your behalf because they want you to embrace the sign language and make it a bill in both houses. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, I support this report from the committee, but Honorable Speaker, I want us as a House to take a minute and think if we really use the Parliament time appropriately. We have just ended the debate on university regulations, where the Cabinet Secretary and the team had made regulation and published in spite of the chair having informed them in the right manner. Now here we are again, and this House have been putting question statement, majority leader have been speaking of the same. The committee have to sit down on a matter like this while the country is suffering on many other avenues, just because someone in an office put a memo or a letter without consultation. The principle of public participation in the Constitution must be adhered to by all leaders. Honorable Speaker, this money, the 42 million that go to the constituency, is so little, and in fact I have a bill in front of this committee where I should be presenting tomorrow, for us as members of Parliament to give substantive road network in our constituencies. We have some counties where rain pattern is year in, year out. For instance, where I come from, we have rains until January. We have some counties in northern part of Kenya where an estimated road of 3 kilometers will require double or triple of the money allocated because of the length. And all these issues have never been considered. So as we discuss, we should be discussing how to increase this money. We can see the percentage as enumerated from KERA, KURA, KWS, Kenya Road Board, but there is a money on emergency, 10%, honorable members. I think it is time, as a House, we revisit the use of this 10%. And I think this is where the increase should come from. If calculations are done very well, Honorable Speaker, and I'm sure we have good mathematicians in this House, we can get 5% from this 10%. And this can work as an affirmative action to counties where the rain patterns are frequent and to the counties where the roads network are also very, the length is very, very long in terms of the distance. And if we get the affirmative increment of 2.5% to each counties, the ones in the dry areas and with the significant distance, the ones which are raining all the time, the topology is black cotton and the like, then we would be even in a better position. Having said that, I think the counties, while I restrain myself to discuss about the counties, has also, it is time that they also demonstrate their leadership. Time and again, where there is Mataga there, you'll find a member of Parliament is the one making that small road. While there is any emergency, you'll find a member of Parliament is the one making those roads from the small savings. Yet those roads clearly belong to the counties. But we have not seen them make the small roads of 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers to make our constituencies experience the transport for people to move their market, food to the market and enjoy the businesses. Honorable Speaker, I have one road called Captain Wajohi Geta Donyojero Road, which is a nightmare. And KERA is aware of this. Honorable Speaker, you find a road is made with 7 to 10 years and it is never complete. I think the honorable members from this House are suffering from the roads that they maintain and the roads that are even made by KERA, and it can only be fair if this money is increased and not even reduced 1 shilling. And we have.
Thank you very much, Wanjiku Muhia. The Honorable Julius Ruto, member for Keses.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also put up my point in support of the Committee on Roads and Transport on recommendation of rejection or withdrawal with total indemnity on the proposal brought forward by the carer. Madam Speaker, we all agree. We come from constituencies where day in, day out, our duty is to engage our electorates. The challenges people are going through in terms of roads, the withered roads that are common in our constituencies, Madam Speaker, you cannot comprehend. Proposal to reduce what CARE has been doing, because what CARE has been doing is tremendous work that are commendable. In fact, I dare ask that we would need to see the reports, audit reports undertaken by Kenya Road Sport on what the output of CARE as compared to the other agencies that are in place, like including roads done by county governments. To reduce allocation or ceilings for CARE in the quest to increase the allocations going to county government in itself is defeating. In any case, the function and the goals is not competitive because all is adhered towards serving the common mwananchi. County governments are privileged in terms of their allocations, and if you witness every county government, they have acquired enough equipment within their administration. But we all understand they are still going through a lot of challenges. Policy of implementation and management of the same assets is in problem because most of this equipment you will find that they are being misused or abused, and that the output of the same cannot be compared with the output of much that CARE can do. And therefore, it's a calling on the agencies to uphold their competency in their work. Because CARE is established by law under Kenya Road Sport Act of 2007 with clear mandate and responsibility. Going forward, to negate the responsibility and the provision of the same law that was given by this parliament, and to proceed and introduce additional subsidiary legislation that negates that responsibility or that defeats the powers they draw from the same constitution in itself. Madam Speaker, I want to agree with one member who said that is null and void. And therefore, even us continuing to debate on what we know it is null in itself is even a waste of time. We just need to communicate to the CS that forthwith within 7 days, that communication should have been cancelled and a new communication should have been brought forward to the agencies to begin to plan their work plan for the financial year 2024, 2025 and henceforth, basing on the new ceiling or on the on the increasing projection, because our revenues are increasing day in, day out. If you look at the projection of the preceding years as where we are now in terms of revenue collection in this country, they are on the positive trajectory going up, and therefore even allocations and ceiling should be increasing. So, Madam Speaker, I want to stand and to support that what CARE is initiating to do in itself is going against the principle of the laws of this republic. And therefore, as this House, we need to stand and to ask them to work with this Honorable House. We want to ask them to ensure that they stick to their role and mandate, and matters to do with budgeting process be retained to be the purpose of this particular House, and to ensure as way forward we are going, let every agency do their work accordingly. What county government needs to do is not to come in and scoop what is in the coffers of national government. Let them stick with their resources, what have been provided for. If it's a question of increasing their resources, it's not by suppressing the works of the other agencies, by reducing their allocations just to meet their demand. Let them work on their own source revenue, and as the national government resources are growing, let the Constitution of Kenya be upheld on the way resources have to be increased on what is going to be going to county governments, not by suppressing other agencies. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, member, honorable member. The Honorable Dick Maungu, member for Luanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. for the opportunity given. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the report from the Departmental Committee on Transport in regard to a letter that emerged from KERA and sent to regional directors that led to reduction of proposed funds to our regions or constituencies, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as it has been said, KERA does a lot of good work, great job in our constituencies. And therefore, any attempt, deliberate or otherwise, that might move towards reducing what KERA gets in the regions, Madam Speaker, will be detrimental to the welfare of our communities, the progress of our societies, and the good of our networks down there, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's good to note that the Roads Act of 2007 that brought into existence KERA and other road agencies, and the Roads Act of 1999 that did indicate the role of KRB, it is very clear that the mandate of KERA, Madam Speaker, sorry, it is very clear that the mandate of KERA is to connect or maintain the road network in the rural areas, also the devolved areas, Madam Speaker. And therefore, KERA has done great ever since it came into existence in 2007. What KERA has been able to achieve is clear, it is loud and clear all across the country. Anytime you visit a constituency in this country, you will see significant improvement in road management, significant improvement in the management of our road corridors, courtesy of what KERA has been doing, Madam Speaker. And therefore, the best we can do is to support or well finance this entity so that they can improve on the good work they are doing. And therefore, a caucus sitting in Naivasha on the 8th of August, a kangaroo sitting for that matter, moves on to make laws or propose legislation that will reduce what goes to KERA, Madam Speaker, should be rebuked at all levels, and such should never be allowed to continue, Madam Speaker. Having been said that, Madam Speaker, the 2% that KERA has been receiving over the years has done much. And Madam Muhia, member for Nyandarua, has just spoken about the 10% that is left to the CS. How we wish that such monies would be added to what KERA is getting so that this KERA can do much better roads in the constituency and improve our networks. And therefore, the originator of this memo, as has been captured, should be called to withdraw the memo with immediate effect. Should be instructed that never again should he take instructions from a kangaroo sitting. Never again should he take instructions from a meeting that is not anchored in law to give to regions, Madam Speaker. It is only this House that is mandated to give laws. Only this House can give instructions in matters law, and we can only get authority, any government agency can get authority from the resolutions of this House, Madam Speaker. And therefore, any sitting, a caucus or a kangaroo meeting anywhere, can therefore not purport to give instructions or to give directions as to how funds can be managed, Madam Speaker. And therefore, with all humility, I want to rebuke and say that that should never ever be allowed again. And going forward, we need to kind of ring fence this. It's already ring fenced by the law. And therefore, we should not allow that the county government can stretch its hands into what is not within their ambit, Madam Speaker. That notwithstanding, this House was never represented in the meeting that sat in Naivasha. This House that makes laws was not part and parcel of that meeting, Madam Speaker. And therefore, a meeting that excludes us can therefore not interfere or kind of direct what this House should do, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I stand to support the committee and request that never again should we allow such resolutions outside this House to instruct our DGs and accounting officers otherwise than that it should appear in law. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Joseph Nyakundi, member for Kitutu, Chache North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I also want to support the Committee on Infrastructure on this issue. There is no way that IBEC can come and make laws and budgets for this House. There is no way. It is only this House that is mandated to make laws and to make budgets. So the meeting that was held in Naivasha, we were not consulted. We don't know about that meeting. So there is no way that money that is for KERA roads can be reduced, especially the 22% that goes to our constituencies from 22% to 16%, and the 10% allocation to 6%. That is not the work of KERA. And the Director General for KERA should have gone by now, should be at the Committee for Infrastructure and answer questions. The Cabinet Secretary, who is my very good friend, is not the one who's supposed to make laws. And there is 10% for the Cabinet Secretaries for special funds. This money is the one that is supposed to go to the counties if there is any money that is supposed to be taken there. So we don't allow these things, and we will not accept. The mandate of Parliament should not be given to any other person. And we know KERA has been doing very good job for the last couple of years in our roads. There is no way county governments can be given this money, because even this county government, we don't see the work they are doing. They are given a lot of allocation, and we are the ones who give them this money that goes to the county government. But we don't see the work, the money we give them is doing in the counties. Even small roads that are 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, that are supposed to be done by the county government. And these county governments have bought equipments that are supposed to do these roads, but there is nothing that they are doing. So we will not accept, and I want to commend the Infrastructure Committee led by the member Fondia, and I want them, we will support them through thick and thin. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The next opportunity, honorable members, goes to the Honorable Gideon Ochanda, member for Bondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Outrightly, Madam Speaker, I support the report, but I want this to go on record that I'm not very happy about the recommendations. They are too mild. Madam Speaker, if you look at this report adequately, there is the issue of malice and illegality. Malice in the sense that DG KERA and KERA itself has gone ahead and issued letters to the regional managers on 22nd of August, based, number one, on a proposal. Who informed the DG if the proposal is placed to go ahead and start issuing administrative orders? Number two, Madam Speaker, why it is malice? The summit recommended or talked on something to do with the 24-25 financial year. Why should the DG act on the year 23-24, even if he were to act? So those two indicate very clearly that there's malice in this thing. The illegality, that is very clear, members have spoken to this. Illegality is in the sense that here we are, there is a law in place, and the DG puts aside all these things and issues letters to its junior officers. I think this is basically illegal. Madam Speaker, the other thing that we need to look at is the summit. When the summit is recommending eating into what the roads board has, or fuel maintenance levy fund, when you look at that against the whole idea that counties have their own monies and they budget for it annually like any other, like the national government, why don't they have that in their budgets? But on the other hand, Madam Speaker, why should the summit look at the audit in terms of the 6 years that there were grant funds to the county government? What did those monies do in the 6 years? If they didn't do that audit and they didn't bring us a proper report, or a report was not out in terms of how the counties used the grant for the 6 years before 2021, I think there's no any other reason why any other money should be taken to counties from road maintenance fuel levy fund. So, Madam Speaker, in my view, the recommendations are a little bit mild, and we needed to go in some more harder recommendations, such that the DG of Kura is punished a little beyond what is recommended here, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, finally, if there is a fund that all the departments needed or ought to have borrowed from, it is this fund that goes to roads. If all the departments of government, if all the budgets that we place annually for all departments were to have a portion that is destined to constituencies directly. Even if all of them were just talking about 10% or even 5%, in principle, that would be the best that we can do to this country. That's exactly where the roads fund is helping a great deal. The 32% that we are talking about that goes to Kera is the only money that we see in roads in the rural areas. There's nothing else. And I can tell you that there are certain constituencies that don't have anything to do with Kenya, they don't have anything to do with the Kura. The only money they see, or the only funds that are available for purpose of their roads, is this 32%. So if somebody talks about reducing something that is not enough, I think first of all it's also not logical. So, Madam Speaker, I support the report, but I'm not too clear in terms of how the recommendations were done, because I think they're so mild. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Mary Emase, member for Teso.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Actually, I was about to stand on a point of order because I heard you say you are giving to the female members of parliament opportunity. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to join colleagues in supporting the report of the Committee on Roads and Infrastructure. And the importance of this roads levy, the 32%, cannot be overemphasized. For county governments, through a kangaroo or a MOFAS outfit that has no authority in law within which any allocation can be anchored on, to purport to reduce the amount to be taken to counties is saddening. Honorable Speaker, in fact, I want to say Honorable Gikari is lucky he's able to get a vehicle and fuel. In my county, I speak to my MCS even just to borrow a vehicle so that I can fuel a grader so that we can open a road in areas that are inaccessible when we have funerals. I have to go into my pocket in certain instances to just prepare a road for that area for them to be able to access to transport their bodies. So for the DG carer and the county or IBEC to make a proposal to reduce this amount, this is it's something that has never been heard of, and it's unacceptable. In fact, I want to say, to agree with the member who is saying the recommendations are a bit mild, in fact, when we summon the DG, let it be a plenary sitting so that all members can be able to ask questions on the floor of this house. That money needs to be enhanced, and the only house that has got the authority and the power and the mandate to make any legislation is this house. And so no one can purport to usurp our powers. So, Honorable Speaker, I support the sentiments. That money has got to remain where it is, and it has to be enhanced, and we cannot tolerate otherwise. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mary Emase. Honorable members, before we go to the Honorable Jessica Mbalu, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome seated in the public gallery this afternoon SVAC Community School in Embakasi Central, Nairobi County, and Najile Boys Secondary School from Kajiado West, Kajiado County. You are welcome to the National Assembly. The Honorable Jessica Mbalu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on the debate on the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, led by my very good able member, friend, Mr. John Kariuki. Madam Speaker, allow me also thank the committee for coming up with this report, for annulling the increment as proposed of not increment, the reduction of the carer funds. Madam Speaker, I want to say that it is only this parliament. We have been there with you the 11th parliament, 12th parliament, and now the 13th parliament. And it's only the parliament that can make laws. It's only this parliament that will make sure that we either amend, and in the proposal of amending, I will propose that we increase the carer money from actually 32%. Madam Speaker, when you get to our constituencies and most of the constituencies in the country, the 22% constituent roads and the 10% of the critical link roads, Madam Speaker. These are the only roads we see visible. And you can see the roads how they have been made. We have engineers, we have the people who come and inspect the roads, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think this was a way of trying to attempt to either kill or disrespect Parliament. The CS has been a member of Parliament at the Senate, and he understands what the roads make and mean. The President has been a member of Parliament, and he knows what roads, how the roads, what it means to the people. Madam Speaker, the Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act, 1999, it provides the board shall allocate funds from the roads maintenance levy. And they have outlined as follows: Kera, 32%. We have gone to Kenya Urban Roads, Tekura, 15%. And I can tell you most of the constituencies benefit only from Kera. I come from Kibwesi's constituency, where people from Zambani, Kambu to Darajani, all the way to Lukenya University, Madam Speaker, and they have benefited from this Kera. And those roads are smooth. My women are being taken to hospital by the ambulances in a smooth road. Border people are using those smooth roads from Kera, and of course they are using little money in terms of fueling, in terms of maintenance of their borders. Madam Speaker, this must be an abuse. To reduce the Kera funds, I think every member in this House says no. Madam Speaker, the Director General, I don't know who advised him in his memo, which the Parliament, and I'm sure he's watching, the Parliament is not supporting. So he must get a different advisor to advise him on the work of the Parliament, how we separate duties of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. This House must be respected. We have been elected by people to come and represent them. And that's why on the floor that says, I support the committee on annulling the report. Madam Speaker, in fact, the funds, as I said, should be increased and released. The rains are about to start. The roads are pathetic, and our people need to use roads. They are Kenyans, and we are all Kenyans, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I agree with my fellow members of Parliament that even these recommendations are very mild. We should have a strong recommendation, including having a Kamkuj and calling upon the DG that to explain to him how the law is made, to give him a report on the benefit of these Kera roads to our constituents, the people of Kenya. The county government should do their work. The